Fantastic. Whoa, very low chairs. Very comfortable. We should get comfortable because this is an opportunity for you, the audience, to share your ideas and questions with us, and for our panelists to actually have a discussion. Maybe, we don't all agree on everything, but it's a good opportunity to learn together. And so I have a set of questions that have come from you on the Slido. So I just need to make sure I have my Slido open. Keep those questions coming. We also have microphones. Olga and I can't see. So if you want to ask a live question, we love that too. And let me open my Slido. I'm trying to write a question myself.
They got them up there.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Sven, because it's quite small. So the first question is related to our presentation, our first presentation of the day, which was around the Danish effort to eliminate PRRS. And the question for you, Nikolai, is how does the government help or compensate the farmers for farms that test positive? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, that was an easy question of all the questions coming, I think, because the answer is they don't. It's all paid by farmers themselves. The initiative is actually been taken by the pig industry itself and the organization behind, and we got the support from the government to make these rules that are described in my presentation. But if a farmer is being infected with PRRS and has to go through an elimination program, he has to pay himself. He has to pay for the veterinary services, the diagnostic work and all that. So it's all paid by the farmers themselves, and the whole program, as I described, is funded by the Pig Levy Fund in Denmark, which is also farmers' money. So there is no governmental compensation at all.
What there is a very good upside, right, in that you get better payment for your pigs right away once you're negative.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. The other one is also for you. This is related to the SPF program, and which you mentioned 8 infectious agents. Can you?
I see if I can remember them.
Yeah. I was doing it in my head.
Yeah, okay. Well, of course, there's the PRRS type 1 and type 2. We got the MHIO, we got APP, and then we got atrophic rhinitis as the major ones, and then we have some. We call them exotic because we really don't see them anymore, but lice and mange, which is also part of the system that we are declaring freedom of. So when you add them together, you got 8 diseases.
Yeah, and this has been going on for many years. I remember you eradicated mange at one point, right? So
and then back in the 90s when PRRS came to Denmark, that was quickly identified as a major disease, and it was included in the PRRS program, and it's actually the SPF program, and we are evaluating that program frequently to see if there's any other diseases should be included. But you need to have good diagnostics, and you need to have the capacity to declare freedom, and that's not easy for a lot of pig diseases that you have.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nikolai. Very good answers to help us understand better the Danish situation. So we're moving a little bit to the PCV2 area. I will ask this question first to you, Marcello, but all of our panelists, please give your opinion. So this is a farm where they're using 2 different kinds of PCV2 vaccines, and they see pretty similar performance. However, one of the vaccines, that you can see them behind, did not show viremia. So the pigs were, when tested, were not PCR positive, I presume, while the other one did show viremia titer in this kind of 12 to 16 week period, considering vaccination at 3 weeks. How would you interpret that outcome if this question came?
Yeah, I think the key thing there is like similar performances, right? So I think that's the most significant point that you should be paying attention to. If we go into the literature and look for different challenge studies and vaccination studies, you're going to see that the different vaccines, when you challenge vaccinated animals, regardless of the vaccines, viremia is a reality for all of the vaccines. So, you got to do a combination of things to determine the best possible intervention that you're going to use, right? So viremia is one of the things that can be tracked, but the performance and how the pigs are looking should be the first thing that would determine how you're going to see that vaccine working.
The pigs don't lie, right?
The pigs don't lie.
I think one of the dangers is a one point in time sampling really may take you in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that, Clayton, that people are a bit quick to use one sampling to make a big decision, maybe vaccine decision or others.
Good or bad, it's limited information. Don't overinterpret it.
Yep. Any other comments from the panelists? Disagreements with Marcello?
Like Marcelo said too, right in his presentation, if it's a tie, you need more evidence. Necropsy some pigs, see if compare the lesions, see if there is evidence of PCV2 AD with protocol A, protocol B. So keep digging, right? So got to make that important decision based on that data.
What we've seen with vaccine comparisons is, the commercial vaccines from the multinationals are able to reduce disease. The differences are probably more around things that are not that easy to measure, particularly variation. Mm-hmm. So we've done a number of studies now where we compare vaccines, and what we see is not, the average may not be that different, but the dispersion is quite different. And so this is really important because that's where your profit lies. If you can have more uniform pigs at slaughter, you will have a better return on your investment. And I think that's the kind of measurements that more and more, not just for PCV2, for all diseases, we really need to use solid data to draw conclusions. And I think that's more and more important. Mm-hmm. Everybody shakes head?
Yeah.
Averages can be really deceiving in pig production. There's a lot of ways to get to averages, and I think that's what you're saying with the market pig. I would much rather have every market pig that looked exactly like the market pig than a huge skew in the performance results, because we could have some exceptional performing pigs and some horrible performing pigs, and the horrible performing pigs cost us a lot of money, but the average would look the same.
Yeah. And I think also, particularly with all in, all out, right, you've got that tail that is going to drag on, and then bad decisions are made, right? They're mixed with the next group, or they're not moved out in time.
You'll sell the superior pigs first. They won't necessarily make you any more money. You'll sell them at the same weight, and that tail is going to kill you when you have to dump that barn.
So variation is bad.
Yes.
We know that. Very good. Thank you. Next question.
I do have a question for Nikolai, because, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have showed one slide that approximately 20 farms are breaking each year in Denmark that have been previously declared PRRS free, right?
Yeah.
So they've gone through that painful process already and then re-breaking.
Yeah.
Did you do some follow-ups to investigate to what were the reasons? Do we see a common theme in those farms?
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question. And I just realized I forgot one SPF disease, the dysentery, because we don't see it anymore.
Okay.
It's gone, but it's actually also part of the program. That was number 8. Mm-hmm. So
swine dysentery.
Yeah, swine.
How could we forget?
Yeah, how couldn't you forget? Well, we did some investigation into that. We're trying to describe each case because we got so few of them in the sow herd, so we can actually go there and we ask them for a sequence every time now for free to pick it up. We don't do that much sequencing, but just to try to establish some sort of picture and maybe to do some outbreak investigations, also in case that the outbreak would spread to neighbors, then we have the original case. So we're trying to do that. We did a case control comparison between sow herds being breaking with PRRS compared to sow herds not breaking for PRRS a couple of years ago. And what we found is it's quite difficult because most of our sow herds is part of the SPF program, so the external biosecurity is sort of a high level. They all follow the same rules as well, that's what they answer when we're asking them. So, of course, there could be something that they won't tell us, but because they're at the same program, they sort of have the same approach of external biosecurity. But what we found is that there is, the main driver is local spread from neighboring farms. We usually find, if at a break of sow herds, there is a herd within 5 kilometers to that herd that are positive. That's the main thing, we believe. But another thing that showed in that analysis was actually how you handle pig delivery when you deliver the growers, when the truck comes to the farm. There's differences there, and the procedures are maybe not followed correctly in the ones that are breaking. And then the last thing was actually the staff, because farms where they have a higher rotation of staff, they had a higher risk of breaking with PRRS. It was a small indicator, but it was there, and we interpret that the importance about training the staff, training them into biosecurity, that's a risk if you have a high change of staff and maybe not educating well enough. So that's sort of what we know. And another, one major problem about doing studies like that is like more than half of our sow herd do not have any clinical signs when they go positive.
Okay.
They're picked up by
Monitoring.
serological surveillance. So there's not been any reports about any clinical signs, that they just go positive. We call it silent. There've probably been some small changes, and maybe an increase in stillborns, maybe a few more abortions than on average, but they didn't react.
Only 34 PSY.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's no major change, and then it's not being reported, and they pick it up maybe like half a year later. So, and then it's difficult to actually find out what went wrong. When did it actually get infected? So, yeah.
And
we don't have this high pathogen PRRS that you talk about that much.
Exactly.
Luckily.
Yes. Yeah.
And that would be similar to what you're finding with some of your outbreak investigations in the United States, right, Danielle, in your program? Airborne or area spread, transport mistakes, maybe human error.
Right. The other one people frequently report is the farm has a problem, right, Clayton? And then it's the emergency, and then those unexpected visits come. Not always the guys who fix the electricity or water pipe or whatever, right? Those may or may not follow all the biosecurity standards. So it's been common for herds to invest in all those tools ahead of time, so they have a room with all the tools you may need, even if you don't. Because then, if you think about the cost of buying those tools for electric repairs, for water, it's going to be very minimal compared to your PRRS outbreak or PED or whatever it is.
I could just add that what we discuss a lot about how to get the right information on when something goes wrong. It's very difficult to get the real cause, because if somebody made a mistake, they won't tell you.
Correct.
They won't tell the staff manager, and the staff manager, if he made the mistake, he will not tell the owner, and we never get into the point of what's actually what went on. So it's a matter about building a system that you do the right thing every day, and you train people to do the right thing every day to avoid the mistakes, because you really don't. It's very difficult to identify the specific cause of outbreak in each farm, I believe.
Yeah, I think that would be a universal concern. We often things don't happen just before the outbreak too. So yeah, how far back in time do you go, etc.? Where was the index case?
If only there was a way to record these things.
Yeah, exactly.
If only,
If
right?
only. But even if
In
we
the
had
year
technology-
2026, if only there was a way in these
A
multi-million
technology.
dollar facilities to monitor.
we
But
have
no, not in pig farms.
we have the technical tools, right? We
Yeah.
don't have the will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Great dialogue. And again, if any questions come as you hear our experts, please jump in. We would love to hear your voice and your question. I'm going to jump with the list, if that's okay. So we have a question about IDEX ELISA using to monitor MDA, maternally derived antibodies. to decide on vaccination timing. And so in this question, I think it's about vaccination timing for both PRRS and PCV2. So at 14 days, the ELISA titer was high. We can discuss what high means, but we can talk about that. And vaccination was done during this time. Does that result in the vaccine being neutralized and then leading to a vaccination failure? What should I do to find out the best vaccination timing for both PRRS and PCV2? Clayton, do you want to take this one as the practitioner in the room?
And I don't know exactly, Oliver, if they're referring to the PCV2 ELISA or the PRRS ELISA, but let's start with the PRRS ELISA because I think that one's pretty straightforward. So the question is, what should I do to find the best vaccine timing? First of all, stop spending money on the PRRS ELISA because that test doesn't tell you anything that's going to help you make that decision. The PRRS ELISA, we've gone through this at previous perspectives, is antibodies from the nucleocapsid protein, right, Marcelo?
Correct.
And those antibodies protect the pig from PRRS, right?
Nope.
No, not at all. None whatsoever. So it's not a very good use of your limited diagnostic resources. It's probably not practical to test for serum neutralizing antibodies, cell-mediated immunity at the farm level, right? Like, I don't think we're going to do that. So I don't have an immediate diagnostic test to say, okay, let's use this serology test to quantify the antibodies. I would say in this situation, response to therapy is a reasonable diagnostic test. And so kind of like the question before about PCV2, my performance results are great, but I found a PCR positive, what to do? Well, I would say if your performance results are fine, you don't have a problem, right? If you don't have clinical signs of PRRS, if you don't have PCVAD, don't search for a problem you don't have. Don't make it a diagnostic conundrum. If you do have challenges with PCV2 and with PRRS, I think, vaccinating pigs for PCV2 at 14 days of age would not be a very common practice. So I think it'd be very reasonable to look at a different timing. To Oliver's point, PCV2 vaccines made by very reputable countries or companies, they're going to have decent performance. And if you've got 10, 20% of the pigs that have PCVAD, there's a problem. Marcelo, you covered the risk factors very well, right? Look at the host. If that pig is wrecked with PRRS when you're giving the PCV2 vaccine, he's not going to respond very well. So we've got to look at a timing that's going to be different. And in a really challenged flow, the blunt reality is there's not going to be one time to vaccinate all the pigs that's going to work well. That's the sad reality. There's going to be challenged pigs at pretty much every age all the way through the nursery period. So you may have to look at multiple doses if you really want to improve the control.
Yeah, and I think it's perhaps too simplistic to treat the two the same. One is a modified live, one is a killed or a subunit vaccine. I think what the literature talks about is often based on laboratory studies, and there's not a heck of a lot of field evidence one way or the other with MDA. I find that interesting. What we have done, I can maybe share from a Boehringer Ingelheim standpoint. We are very, very comfortable that if you have very high PCV2 maternal-derived antibodies and you vaccinate with Engelvac Circoflex at 3 weeks of age, we have very good confidence that you will not have a negative impact. If you start vaccinating very early, say in the first week of life, we just don't have a lot of data. I don't see a good reason to do it that early, but we're very confident at that point. And so again, follow the data, right? With PRRS, again, we have evidence that early vaccination in the presence of circulating antibodies protects the pigs. Is it the best time? Again, I think we need more data. It maybe depends on the situation on the farm. When's the challenge happening? So it's hard, I think, to give a universal answer. But follow the data. There's a lot of information here that we can gather. Danielle, you're shaking your head. Do you have any additional thoughts?
We do have a jukebox to explore a little bit more
topic.
That topic. but like you guys said, right? Ideally, you want to vaccinate pigs ahead of the challenge. So if pigs are crashing in the finishing, winning time, vaccination should work just fine, right? If they're crashing in the nursery, then you may want to get that vaccination a little bit earlier, even if it's just temporary, right? To get that immunity to pigs in the nursery. But now if it's in the face of the outbreak in the sow herd and pigs are really sick and dying and high mortalities, you may want to save the vaccination for a little bit later when you first vaccinate the breeding herd, lower that pressure of infection. If pigs are then healthy, vaccine ready, right, then you may want to start that early and keep postponing until you postpone that pressure of infection down to the finishing.
I think actually maybe being infected early is more important than having maternal-derived antibodies, right? If you're vaccinating already a PRRS-infected pig, chances are that pig is not going to get much benefit from vaccination.
Yeah, and I think if you ask that question about antigen testing, so PCR testing at 14 days of age, we could give a better recommendation on how to implement your PRRS vaccination. We've got data on that in an infected early pig, 2 vaccines, processing at weaning is the right thing to do. And with PCV2, it tells you need to mass vaccinate that breeder herd.
Yeah.
Those pigs should not be PCR positive at 14 days of age, and we do have to quiet the breeding herd down to make the vaccine be effective by getting it in before the infection.
Exactly.
Great. We're running out of time. And
Can I take one last question?
One last question,
Yes.
you think? We can
Yes.
squeeze it in?
Yes.
Great. So lots of brilliant questions. We'll save any that we don't have time for this afternoon also, so don't despair. Also approach our speakers. They don't bite. They're very friendly. Maybe have a coffee with them or ask the question yourself. So the last one for this morning session. There are many PRRS vaccines available. I didn't pick the order of these, so whoever's picking them, thank you. Great job. There are many PRRS vaccines available. How do I choose one? Should I consider the wild-type virus, the lineage, or is it effectiveness against various strains? I think we covered this a little bit today, but I don't know who wants to take it.
Probably Daniel. No?
Daniel would be my choice.
Oh, not the lineage for sure, because the lineages are really good for epidemiological understanding of where the virus came from, and is it similar to the virus I had before? Is it from my neighbors? Whatever. But it's not a system to predict vaccine efficacy. We're just not there yet, right? In terms of finding a predict vaccine efficacy, like we can do that with influenza, Marcel, maybe some other pathogens, strepto, but PRRS is not one of them. So at least to me, the choice will be understand what type of virus you have in the region and look for evidences that that vaccine virus has cross protection against, right? So we'll be more toward the end of the question there, right? You gotta have proven evidence that the vaccine works against those has cross protection against those circulating strains. So it's not lineage, it's not going to be a lab experiment, it's not going to be ELISA responses, it's not going to be neutralizing antibody or any immunologic responses, then ability for the virus, documented ability for the vaccine to reduce viremia, reduce lung lesions, and improve mortality upon challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys can talk more about how many trials. Marius had a slide on that, right? I don't know that there is any other vaccine with more evidence of cross-protection against different lineages, different regions, different over time.
That's our approach is, it gets difficult because there's more and more strains emerging, but as these strain emerges, we try to get hold of them. We work together with you guys to get some of those new strains and put them into vaccinated pigs and see if the vaccine is still delivering. It's expensive and slow, but this is the only way we can be confident.
The only reliable way.
Yeah. And if anybody says differently, they only want to save money.
Yeah. No shortcuts with PRRS. The other thing that I think is very difficult is we often sequence only or 5, and then we make sweeping conclusions with that. And what we've learned is, when you go whole genome, you realize that things that you thought were very similar are actually very, very different. it's very hard to use that in any way, in my experience, beyond epidemiology or understanding movement of virus. We all agree?
And the safety aspect too, right? In the US, we don't have a lot of vaccines. Here in Asia, in some countries, there will be many more, say, homemade vaccines. So we're talking about efficacy here, but also got to remind about safety, right? Got to make sure that that vaccine has only the attenuated virus that's supposed to be there, and not have other pathogens hijacking, right? Or viruses. PRRS viruses that are supposed to be attenuated but are not really attenuated. So the safety aspect cannot be forgotten too.
Absolutely. That's true for other pathogens as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we won't talk about ASF, not today.
Oh.
Well, if you want to, we can. Not today now, because we've run out of time. And we have still lots of very detailed questions that I would love to answer. As I said, please approach our speakers. We will bank these for later. And also approach your Boehringer Ingelheim technical person, because they will be able to also gather and help you answer these questions. So with that, I want to thank our wonderful panel of speakers. Thank you.